Welcome to Growing Bremerton Together with Mayor Patty Lind. My guest today is Director Chal from Public Works. He's going to tell us about the roads, some of the new improvements, and the ideas that we have for all of the streets in downtown and throughout the city of Bremerton. Stay with me. Welcome to Growing Bremerton Together with Mayor Patty Lind. I have a special guest, and it's one of our department directors. Chal has been with us about a year and a half, and we're going to talk about what's going on in the year 2014 in our street maintenance, streetscapes, and some new things the city will be proud of. Welcome, Chal.
Thank you, Mayor. Great to be here.
And now in this first 18 months with the city of Bremerton, I know you love the city. You were one of the first directors to jump right in and buy a house so that or a place to live so you could be in the city, and you're here full time.
I think us Bremertonians take the city for granted, but when you look, I mean, I'm just astounded every day. Many people know that I live in the condominiums. My wife Lois and I live in the condominiums, and we have a little puppy dog. So every morning, bright and early, I step outside with my puppy dog and to take care of that business, and it's just beautiful. I never know what to expect, but oftentimes it's very calm. The water's calm. I see the lights of the bridge. I look over across the water and see Manette. I look up above. I see the lights of the city. It's just exquisite. And you know, in the time that I've been here, I've just enjoyed. I'm sort of a hobby jogger. And I was concerned when I got here that I wouldn't, you know, have the time or find a good place to jog. There's wonderful places in the city, and we're making them even better. It's just exquisite, and there's just so much to be said for this city. I'm just very enthusiastic, and there's so much been accomplished way before I got here. There's so much infrastructure in place. I just really feel like we're right on the cusp of just wonderful things exploding in this city. I
agree with you, Chal. We've turned the corner from about 4 or 5 years of really being a down economy. With our 38 parks, I know you mentioned jogging, and that's what keeps you trim and in shape and invigorated. You've probably jogged nearby or in all of our parks.
I have. My only complaint is Forest Ridge Park, a little steep going up that hill, but I like that park as well. Yeah.
That's our largest at 21 acres, and it's wooded, so it's nice. Let's talk about your, you have the largest department for the city of Bremerton, and about 100 and how many employees?
We have right around 100 employees in the Public Works Department. We do an awful lot with our 100 employees, and I've told them that this is the most experienced and capable workforce that I've ever had the privilege to lead. It really is, when you think about it, phenomenal what we accomplish with our 100 employees, because remember, we run 3 fairly sizable utilities, the water utility, the sewer utility, and the storm water utility. And there's a lot that goes with that. And in addition, of course, we have a street department, we have an engineering department, we have administrative capability. So,
and maintenance.
A lot of maintenance in this city, and so we're very efficient and very productive and very capable.
Besides the utilities, I know that the streets are one thing that last year we had 9 members on our city council. This year and for the next 4 years and forever we're going to have 7, and they all were looking at what can we do to improve the roads and improve the streetscapes. We had a 2007 comprehensive plan and sub-area plans through our different neighborhoods. We didn't ever have, again in the last 5 or 6 years, money to do the maintenance and upkeep. Your suggestion for crosswalks and for chip sealing was remarkable because you covered a lot of territory. Tell us a little bit about what you were able to do just in the last year.
Well, we're really building the groundwork, Mayor, as far as the street maintenance goes, but the council has helped. It's really been a team effort. We've put together funding. The council put together funding going forward that will help us in the years to come. We've also, of course, as you well know, we're working within the city has established a transportation benefit district, which is very important for every citizen in Bremerton because having that additional funding helps us at the state and federal level to get additional funding as well, because more and more at the state and federal level, as you well know, our legislators want to see that that our own citizens have a stake in the game. And so all of us citizens paying that extra $20 a year, for the car tab fee, helps us get bring additional money in. As far as the chip seal work, and you mentioned something else.
Crosswalks.
The crosswalks. So shortly after I was here last year, I got some input from one of our citizens in the city. As you know, we have a very interested and engaged citizenry here in the city. And he said, Chal, you should look into contracting for the street markings, especially the crosswalks. We were very concerned the crosswalks around the schools were getting pretty worn down, and it was a safety concern. And also people just wanted them refreshed so that the schools looked better. And so at his request, I was skeptical at first that we couldn't do it cheaper in-house, but at his request, I started looking at the contracts to do that work, and we found a contractor, a very capable contractor, that could do the work for half of what it cost us just to buy the materials. So that's just an example of some of the things where, some of the areas where if we have an opportunity to be more efficient, we'll do that. Then that also allowed, having a contractor do that work also allowed our in-house staff, and it's a fairly small staff, we have 7 people in our street crew, to do other more important work that they otherwise would not have gotten to. With regard to the slurry sealing, we're looking at a pilot program that's going to start this summer.
Good.
And there's other jurisdictions around the state. I used to be a county engineer, and we did the slurry sealing, chip sealing in the county government, as you have some experience in county government as well.
Yes.
And so what that involves is a mix of bituminous material and very small gravel. And we put it down like a chip seal, and it seals the road, and it also turns it black. And there's several places, especially in Manette, that we're looking to extend the lifespan of those very old streets that were paved, some of them many decades ago, 5 or 6 decades ago. And so we've got that pilot program going this year. In addition, we've got a fairly large grind and patch program that will be ongoing this summer. We have yet to pick the streets for that, because we're going to sit down with our consultant and look at where we can get the biggest bang for the buck. And then going forward in the Transportation Benefit District in 2015 and 2016, and hopefully 2017, 2018, that money will hopefully will stay there, and we'll be able to use that to more effect going forward. Also, in the future, we're looking at sidewalks. Obviously, we've got to do more on the sidewalks in the street, and I think that the funding for streets will grow in the city, and that'll allow us to start carving out a program to more efficiently address the issues with our sidewalks. Right now, we kind of have an ad hoc program with that. We got to develop that better, and we're going to be able to do that. On the bigger capital improvement side, we've also completed several projects in the city fairly recently that are going to really benefit our citizens. Obviously, the ones that are ongoing now are Pacific Avenue. Last year we completed Park Avenue and 4th Street, which has turned out to be a great project. Really benefit our folks who live downtown. This coming year, we're going to be working on Lower Wheaton Way, and then the year after that, we're going to be working on Washington Avenue.
Right.
And so we've got a lot of stuff stacked up that I think people are going to be really pleased to see going in the city. Let's
tell our audience about some of the things that you're bringing into the Department of Public Works. And one is that you have to be creative and do governance, use government dollars a little bit differently. One thing is that we have roads that are part of a state highway. And I realized that together you wrote the letter, and it was signed by the mayor. And we sent it off for the county and the state to take a look at reclassification of one of our roads. It allows us to do more work and to actually maybe repave that road if it was a different classification. Those are things that are very creative, and other cities maybe aren't looking at opportunities. So talk about Austin Drive.
Well, I appreciate you bringing that up, Mayor. Austin Drive, of course, serves the hospital as well as that big housing area there for the Navy. It's a great road, but unfortunately it was built in such a way that the subbase is probably not the best, and it's obviously pretty distressed. It needs to be overlaid. Unfortunately, in order to get federal money, as you're well aware, that particular segment of street has to be classified as a federal facility.
Right.
And there's a process to go through to make that happen. We have a lot of federally classified streets within the city. We got out the map and looked at that. A lot of the streets that are federally classified really don't make very much sense. That particular segment makes a lot of sense. It's already a good road. It's a nice wide road. It's got wide shoulders in it, so it's good for bike traffic. It's got sidewalks on both sides. But we could not have paved that with federal grant money. We would have had to use our own internal transportation benefit district money or street fund money to pave that street. So it turns out that there's a process you can go through, get the road hopefully federally classified, which we're doing now, and then we should be able to overlay that road in 2015. And that'll be a great benefit to our Navy partners. There's a lot of traffic on that road. As I said, it serves the hospital as well as that housing area out there. So we're looking forward to that. That's in the hopper, hopefully for 2015.
That's a great program, and it's something that so oftentimes someone utilizing the road, any of our drivers or that use their vehicles on the roads, they don't know what it takes to make something happen.
People don't think about that, and that's that's $700,000 about of money that will come into the city that otherwise would not have been available. Then that frees up the other pot of money that we won't have to spend on Austin Drive to overlay that, and we can use it elsewhere in the city. So that benefits everybody.
Tell us why the city and the council has approved funding to take and repave the old Belfair Highway. Now we have, one of our assets is Gold Mountain Golf Course, and to get there, there's a road again that's pretty chopped up or pretty disintegrated over the years because it's old. And why can we use the least amount of dollars to do that entire roadway and not do something in the downtown or neighborhoods?
That really is related to the Austin Drive issue. I think that it would have been the city's preference at the time, this was a couple of years ago, to overlay Austin Drive. However, it wasn't federally classified, and nobody thought at the time it's just a silly, just another, literally a silly administrative rule that somebody, nobody thought to engage the bureaucracy and just change that classification at the time. But it's a good project, and it was a candidate for overlay, it was a candidate for federal funding, and we'll turn that road black from Division Street, which is where the city starts, out to the golf course. We're also working with the golf course folks, Columbia Hospitality, to hopefully even extend that paving up into the parking lot to the golf course. I hope we can do that. I haven't spoken with Daryl about that, but I've got a note to myself to follow up on that.
That's great.
And so, yeah, so that's a very good use of that federal money. That money came to the city in the funding cycle that ended 2 years ago, and we'll repave that road here in a couple of months.
And that particular road doesn't have sidewalks, it doesn't have curbs and gutters, and it doesn't have to have the ADA. So that's the reason we can extend that financial responsibility for the road.
Yes, and there are other restrictions when you're using federal money for overlays. If you have curbs, gutters, sidewalks, you have to put in the newer ADA facilities.
Crosswalks.
On Austin Drive, it already has those.
Oh, that's great.
So yeah, so it's a good candidate.
Now we've got a project coming up that might be controversial. You're already doing some outreach, and you have a date in mind for a public meeting. Anyone, not just someone that lives in the neighborhood, but that uses Washington to come off from the ferry, to come out of the shipyard, to just circulate traffic downtown, and that's Washington.
Yes.
And what is an idea that's surfaced that would make it look good, be what the city has in our comprehensive plan, and give us the date of that meeting so people can definitely come to that.
Mayor, I have not scheduled the public meeting yet for the Washington Avenue project.
Okay.
But I'm thinking that it will be after, but I'll tell you about another thing that we're doing.
Okay.
We're tentatively planning a trial run on the Washington Avenue project. And for folks at home that are familiar with the city and understand how Washington Avenue works, Washington Avenue handles a lot of outgoing, well, it handles ingoing and outgoing traffic in the morning. Obviously accesses the ferry. A lot of shipyard workers use Washington Avenue to get into the city as well as out of the city. And so the proposed project is to widen the sidewalk and also add a bike lane along Washington Avenue, both northbound and southbound, and in particular the area between 6th and the Manette Bridge. And so when that happens, then there will only be one travel lane in each direction. So people are obviously concerned about that. And as you know, I've been out there watching how the traffic works.
Right.
The biggest concern is during the afternoon rush hour. And what happens during that rush hour is the ferry comes in about 4 o'clock. The Kitsap Transit buses are there to grab the ferry passengers as they come off. The buses head north. The buses from Kitsap Transit typically clear before 4:10. Then at 4:13, the first rider-driver bus
Leaves the shipyard.
comes up and hits 6th Avenue. And I must say that those buses really handle a lot of people. And so that's a great system that Kitsap Transit is working. And so then that shipyard traffic then clears in about 10 minutes. Now, what will be different if there's only one travel lane northbound is that about 80% of the traffic turns right and goes across the Manette Bridge, but 20% goes north. So that extra 20% of the vehicles, they'll have to wait in that one lane before, to get up to the bridge intersection to go north. That's where the delay will occur. But I don't believe that delay will be more than 2 or 3 minutes. I think that's what we're looking at.
Okay.
But what we want to do, and we've tentatively planned this the week of April 21st, is to do a trial run. And we want to get this information out as wide a dissemination as we can.
And this program is
and we
good
don't
for
want
getting that
people
out.
to alter their routes. We want to see how it will work if everybody just stays, pretty much how their travel routes are now. Now that will be after the Pacific Avenue project is completed. But we want to see how that traffic will work with just one lane. And so we plan to put in temporary traffic cones and stuff to keep people to that inside lane going northbound, and we'll see how it works. I believe that it will work fine. In today's transportation world, it's all about trying to accommodate as many different types of users as you can.
The
And so Washington Avenue, you got
the bikes.
pedestrians, you got bikes, you got buses, you've got single car commuters, and with the other alternate routes that we have in the city, I believe that will work just fine. But that segment in particular between north of 5th Street up to the Manette Bridge, the sidewalk is very narrow. It's dangerous for bikers, but we get a lot of, obviously a lot of pedestrian and bike use. So something has to be done there. And so, but this is the project that's...
And the concept is good, and I think what you didn't mention is the roundabout. And that's one of the design, we haven't designed it, so it's not a done deal. And after this dress rehearsal, when we have an opportunity for our road users to take and go through that experience for a week long, we'll get lots of response, emails and people calling us. Then we'll have a public meeting for if they can time it and
Yes.
utilize it. So change is hard. When we had our one-way streets on 4th Street going east, on 5th Street going west, change is hard. When the state wanted to have us use state funding and have a safety feature on Warren Avenue between Burwell and 6th, that was a real tough change. And there are still people that say, gee, I miss a light, it takes me an extra 5 minutes. But it was something that we're getting used to, and people have changed their habits of the streets they use and how they get from one point to another.
Yes. And there have been other changes recently as well. The Warren Avenue 11th Street intersection, we've changed that configuration a bit. People are used to that. It's working just great.
I like the fact that when we started the construction on 6th, or I should say Pacific, we narrowed 6th Street, we narrowed 11th. And what that did is it gave the city 54 parking places we didn't have before. That's one of the concerns everyone has. Well, I go to Bremerton, but there's no place to park.
And Mayor, since you mentioned that, I believe it's on March 3rd. Is that a...
That's
sorry,
the public meeting.
That's the public meeting to get people's input on how the final configuration of 11th and 6th should be after we get the Pacific Avenue project done. And as you know, that project is getting close.
That's one of the things that I want to compliment you on, Chal. You've been out in front of our businesses, our residents, anyone that's interested in how the traffic is going to be handled. The city didn't always do that. Our public works had a plan. It was within our comprehensive plan, which gave us the authority to do it. But we felt that the neighbors and the people that use those roads should have a say. We'll try to always tell them where we feel it's a better project, it's going to have a better view, and I think you and I both are visionaries. We're looking not just today, not just the traffic we have today, but as the city grows up, we have more apartments and more people living within the city. We want to take and accommodate all those modes of travel. And we're looking at what is it going to be like 10 years or 20 years from now. And so today might be awkward, but it's not. It's because we're looking beyond today.
We've had some great public meetings just recently, Mayor. We had one on Lower Wheaton Way, and as you know, that's a project that's going to be bid out
This
here
summer.
very shortly and be constructed hopefully this summer to be completed, I hope, in late fall. And that was a great meeting. We got a lot of great input from folks. And we had originally designed that project to leave large parts of the sidewalk on the east side of the project with no sidewalk. The main sidewalk was going to be on the west side, the water side of the project. And after that public meeting, people said, hey, you know, we really, really want that sidewalk on the east side. And so we went back to the drawing boards and redesigned the project to include full sidewalks on the east side. And in addition, we, in working with the City Council that convened as the Transportation Benefit District, we channeled a bit more money to the project. We still need some more. We've worked with our City Attorney's Office to figure out a way to bid the project so that we can have a list of features for the project and decide at the time which ones we can keep and which ones we have to get rid of. But right now, we're going to bid the project with every component in there, all the sidewalks, the street lighting as well. That was another one that element of the project that people really were interested in getting. And people realize that in today's times, and it really happened with the Great Recession, the business is just not the same as it used to be. These projects, when they go in, they're literally 50-year projects. We have one chance to do it right, to try to do it right. And so I think people well understand that. And anyway, that was a good example of our staff getting feedback, and I had not thought about that myself. So
one thing it does is that we have old, kind of dilapidated areas on that water side, and so to have the sidewalks on both sides, it will draw in people to redevelop and have more business there.
I think for sure it will. It's such a nice segment anyway. And so that Lower Wheaton Way project will get people from the bridge, the roundabout, up to Lebo Drive, where Cherry goes into the hospital there. So it's a wonderful project.
Well, we've got lots of things for the benefit of the citizens that live in the city, and we're drawing more and more people all the time. Chal, thank you for bringing us up to date on the things that are happening this year and even beyond this year. So it's your tax dollars, but you're the beneficiary of the things the city is doing through Chal Martin and our Public Works Department. Thank you, Chal, for joining me on our program. You gave a lot of information, and there's a lot of busy work going on throughout the city this entire year of 2014 and beyond.
Thank you, Mayor. It's my privilege to be here.
Thanks. Join me next time with Growing Bremerton together with Mayor Patty Lind.